Okay, let's see. Do not take more than directed. Oh, hi. If you're wondering what I'm looking at here, it's a drug bottle. It's a substance, one that you should not abuse or take more than directed. You might recall that in certain elementary and middle schools, we'd celebrate being drug-free and saying no to drugs. Am I right? Am I right? Why are you all looking at me like that? Have you not heard of this? What a shame. There are far too many people who haven't heard of drug-free or Red Ribbon Week. That's the problem. There's too many substances nowadays, too much substance abuse, and not enough awareness about how big a problem this is. Instead of drinking water, everyone's indulging in alcohol. And everybody's smoking and vaping, and serious problems have risen from this. Now I remember back in school, we learned about the dangers of such substances such as marijuana and cocaine. We'd have debates on whether or not these substances should be legal. Well, it's gotten to the point where we're all debating about substances in general. Should any of them be legal? My first guess would be no, of course not. Except that I know a lot of people had the same thought that I did, and I know how well that turned out. Not so well. According to jackmillercenter.org, the 18th Amendment of the Constitution was passed, called the Prohibition Act. The Prohibition Act of 1919 banned alcohol to everyone, everywhere in the U.S. But with alcohol being the father of all vices and the most abundant vice in the country, everybody was breaking the law everywhere. They were stealing alcohol and buying alcohol at black markets. And the black marketeers used all their money to bribe the law enforcement. That's nuts. You might wonder why they're doing that. But why wouldn't they, if you think about it? It's America. It's supposed to be the land of the free. If one day you are free to drink and be merry and the next day you are never allowed to touch a drop again, or you'd be thrown in jail, how would that make you feel? I bet you'd be really mad, wouldn't you? I know I would be if they suddenly banned candy, and that's not even a drug. So, after all the chaotic law breaking, the 21st Amendment was passed in our U.S. Constitution. It gave us, the people, the right to regulate our own alcoholic laws, such as alcohol served only to people over 21. Does this mean we have to allow every substance? No, not necessarily. What we're saying is that if you ban everything by law, it's not going to stop people from breaking the law. This goes for gun control laws as well, people, just saying. However, there are some substances that must be outlawed. They cannot be allowed to the people. They're just too dangerous. But why? What's the difference? Is it a crime to use certain substances? Not always, but it can be. Drugfree.org states that addiction is a disease. And addiction is the one thing that all substances have. If you use too much of a substance, you can get this disease. It intoxicates the brain, and I'm talking a lot worse than a fever that never ends. It makes you lose your behavior control, your willpower, your mind control, your judgment, everything. It even can cause you to commit serious crimes. And there are some drugs that only take once to get addicted, such as cocaine. These drugs cannot be allowed at all. It goes to reason that the drugs with the highest risk of addiction are a crime in and of itself, because one dose and it causes you to commit crimes right away. It's It's one thing when you affect yourself with substances, but when it affects other people, that can be a problem, a really big problem. This is why you should never drink and drive. But if you must drink something at a stoplight while driving, drink water. It'll rejuvenate you. But what do we do with the people that break laws? Because CDC.org says that 10% of all the alcohol in the US nowadays is drunken by minors who are 20 or below, like me. That's ridiculous. And this is bad because this website also says that underage drinking increases risk of violence, crime, drunk driving, a whole bunch of illegal stuff. And it's illegal enough to drink underage already. What do we do with these kids? Shouldn't we throw them in jail for just a little longer? Or just a short period of time? We gotta learn our lessons somehow. We gotta teach these kids a lesson. But not all people agree with that. Drugfree.org says that addiction is a disease, and when people have a disease, they're not necessarily responsible for their actions. The problem is that it's a self-inflicted disease. If you're committing crimes because of a poison that you chose to take, that's on you. You're going to go to jail. But of course, jail time isn't the only answer. What do we do with the addicted after they get out of jail? We don't have assurance that they're not going to just keep committing crimes. They need help. But drugfree.org says they can get help. With the right medical treatment, they can overcome their addiction, and they can live happier and healthier lives, and their minds can return to normal. So, throughout history, and especially nowadays, we're wondering whether any substance should be illegal. But we've learned throughout history that we can't ban no substances, and we can't ban every substance. But we need to ban the substances that are most dangerous, the ones that we cannot take at all. And we need to enforce the laws. Our society has a responsibility to do that, to make sure that jail time is laid on the addicted to protect other people, and then medical care to protect the addicted from themselves. And we have a responsibility too. When we're old enough and we start drinking, we gotta drink responsibly. And with dangerous substances like drugs that are far too dangerous to take at all, we just stay away from them and encourage our friends to do the same. Thank you for listening, and that'll be all.